Hello, Shalom Aleichem. Once again, we're going to continue talking about the Mishnayos that was published in Altona, which is a suburb of Hamburg in Germany. This was about over 100 years ago. Anyway, let's take a look at it. Again, we'll talk Mishnayos Seder Nashim, and it's published in Altona. Shanas Tafresh Aleph. We have to find out Be'ezras Hashem the dates Tafresh Aleph, the Prat Katan, and this was published by permission of the king, privilege of the king, in the Buchdruckerei von Gebrüder Bonn, the book binding company of the brothers Bonn. And as we see here, this has the Tosfos Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Tosfos Rabbi Akiva Eiger. So here it is. We see here, this is Tosfos Rabbi Akiva. It doesn't say Eiger. So it says Tosfos Rabbi Akiva, which I've seen in other Mishnayos it doesn't have. So this seems to be a rare, not rare, but it's not in every edition that it has the Tosfos of the Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Let's take a look at a different Mishnayos. Over here we have this edition. This is a Seder Kachim, Tiferes Yisrael. So anyway, let's see if it has a date over here. 1876. Let's see the text of the here. This is Zvachim. It has here's Zvachim. One second. Zvachim is here. Rabbi Ovadia Mibartanora, the Rav, and Tiferes Yisrael. And then it says Iker Tosfos Yom Tov, right over there. That's on the Tosfos Yom Tov. That's another Meforish. So anyway, Rabbi Ovadia Mevartanor. This does not have the Tosfos of the Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Tosfos Rabbi Akiva Eiger. It's interesting that they didn't say Akiva Eiger. It just says Tosfos Rabbi Akiva. And then, so that must be the way they did it. Oh, here's Tosfos Chodashim. That's new edition is Tosfos, and this is Tosfos Rabbi Akiva Eiger. And we have something on Rabbi Akiva Eiger here. One moment. Let's take a look. Let me get the sefer out. This is Giants of the Spirit. One can get this sefer, Giants of the Spirit. It has a lot of Rabbanim, the great Rabbanim. Let's take a look at Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Rabbi Akiva Eiger. I think it's 119. Here, Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Rabbi Akiva Eiger was a luminary of a great rabbi of the early 19th century, and he a great scholar, voluminous knowledge. It's very hard to imagine his knowledge, and he was a moel, as a matter of fact, too, a moel. He circumcised young children to be Yidden, and so he was a moel also. This is Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Let's read a little bit about him. Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Among Israel's great teachers and leaders, the luminaries of the diaspora, Rabbi Akiva Eiger appears as a many-faceted yet harmonious personality, the great Torah scholar and authority on Jewish law, the great educator, whose personal example inspired thousands of disciples, and whose descendants carried on his noble tradition. Akiva Eiger was born in Eisenstadt, Hungary in 5522, 1761 CE. So that's 5522, 17, which translates to 1761 CE. At the age of 12, he was sent to the yeshiva of his uncle, Rabbi Wolf Eiger in Breslau. The unusually gifted boy made rapid progress in his studies. At the age of 18, he married and went to live at the house of his father-in-law, Rabbi Yitzchak Margolis, in Lisa. Rabbi Akiva Eiger devoted all his time and energy to the Torah. His growing fame as a Gaon attracted disciples from near and far to the yeshiva, which he established in Lisa. Rabbi Akiva did not want to accept a rabbinic position, though many offers were tendered to him. He only changed his mind reluctantly when a fire destroyed much of the Jewish quarter of Lisa, and his father-in-law lost his fortune overnight. In order to support his family, Rabbi Akiva Eiger accepted the rabbinate of Märkisch Friedland in Silesia. Here he established a yeshiva to which students flocked from many lands. In 1816, he was elected rabbi of Posen and filled this position until the end of his life. One of the truly great rabbinical personalities of his time, Rabbi Akiva Eiger is esteemed to this day as one of the great halachic authorities. Great rabbis turned to him with questions, and his responses, as well as his notes on the Talmud, reveal the width of his learning, his profundity, his keen analysis, the clarity of his mind and style, and his mastery of the vast Talmudic and rabbinic literature. All these serve him to arrive at well-founded and clear-cut halachic decisions in the most complex cases. During his lifetime, the study of the Torah reached new heights. Great yeshivot flourished in Hungary, in Poland and Germany, and in Russia too. There was a great resurgence in Torah study. So in Russia also there was a great resurgence in Torah study. In many cities and towns, new yeshivot rose, attended by numerous young students. Yet, on the other hand, this was the age of the so-called reformers who, motivated by assimilationism, tried to introduce customs and ceremonies of other religions while abolishing more and more of the time-hallowed precepts and traditions of Judaism. Rabbi Akiva Eiger was a militant fighter against the inroads of reform. He did not limit himself to the 4 L's of halacha, to the Daled Amot shel halacha, the 4 handbreadths of halacha, but took a deep and active interest in the life and problems of his people. In 1807, he headed the delegation of the Jewish communities of Posen and Lisa on the occasion of the establishment of the Grand Duchy of Warsaw by the Emperor Napoleon. When the government was about to prohibit the study of the Talmud, Rabbi Akiva Eiger wrote a comprehensive memorandum which outlined the worth of the Talmud and its study, and asked his disciple, Rabbi Shlomo Plesner, to collect and translate all statements by Christian scholars, beginning with the church father, Hieronymus, attesting to the moral and spiritual value of the study of the oral law. Rabbi Shlomo Plesner's work, written in Hebrew and German, entitled Edut LiYisrael, he sent to the government together with his own memorandum. The authorities were much impressed by these documents and granted anew permission to teach Talmud in the communal schools. Most of Rabbi Akiva Eiger's works, his notes on the Mishnah and Talmud, his novellae and responsa, were published posthumously by his sons. His major works are Gilyon Hashas, that's Notes on the Talmud, She'elot v'Teshuvot, that's Responsa, Chidushim al Hashas, Novelai, Hagahot al Shulchan Aruch, Notes on the 4 books of the famous Codex, Notes on the Shulchan Aruch. His son-in-law was Rabbi Moses Sofer, the Khatam Sofer, who in his own responsa cites many of Rabbi Akiva's opinions and halachic decisions. He inspired his followers not only through his great learning and creative mind, but also through his noble character and life. He was the devoted leader of his community, visiting the sick, caring for the poor, the ill, the weak. When a severe cholera epidemic broke out in 1831, he organized vital hygienic measures and personally cared for the stricken, saving hundreds of lives. In recognition, he received a personal letter from the emperor in which he expressed his appreciation of this selfless devotion. Many stories and anecdotes are told about his great humility and his love for his fellow man. One winter he had to travel through all of a rough and stormy night on his way to a religious function. On the rain-drenched road, the rear wheel of the carriage skidded into a ditch. The driver jumped into the muddy ditch and pushed the vehicle back on the road. When he returned to his seat, Rabbi Akiva Eiger offered him a pair of dry socks to replace his wet ones. The driver thought they were part of the rabbi's baggage and gratefully accepted them. In the morning, when the rabbi alighted from the coach, the driver saw that he was barefooted. He had taken off his own stockings and given them to his driver. "My feet were dry," he said in answer to the driver's protest, "and I couldn't permit you to sit out there in wet stockings." His phenomenal memory is commemorated in this typical tale. Once on his travels, he had to spend a night in a village and found there a volume of Teshuvot Rashba, the responsa of the noted scholar Rabbi Shlomo ben Aderet. A leaf, however, was missing from the book. Several hours later, his host found that Rabbi Akiva had filled in the 2 missing pages in his handwriting from memory. So 2 hours later, his host found that Rabbi Akiva Eiger had filled in the 2 missing pages in his handwriting from memory. Sometime later, the villager came to the rabbi of Pressburg, the Khatam Sofer, and showed him the book. On comparing the pages written by Rabbi Akiva Eiger with their counterparts in a complete printed edition, it was found that Rabbi Akiva Eiger had transcribed from memory every word and letter in its right place. So that's an amazing memory. This is Rabbi Moshe Sofer, Rabbi Akiva Eiger's son-in-law. Several years before the end of his life, he heard that in the neighboring town where his daughter lived, the position of the caretaker of the public baths had become vacant. Rabbi Akiva Eiger, the venerated sage of the generation, asked his daughter to try to secure this position for him, for he would like to earn his livelihood by the toil of his hands in his old age. He passed away in Tishrei 5598, 1838 CE, at the age of 77. In accordance with his last will, his gravestone bears only these words: "Here lies our rabbi, Rabbi Akiva Eiger, servant to the servants of God." So this is Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Rabbi Akiva Eiger. This can be found. This is Giants of the Spirit. If you want to get this safer, Giants of the Spirit by Ephraim Taubenhaus, Giants of the Spirit. 20 biographies of outstanding sages and rabbis. Translated from the Hebrew by Benjamin Hoffman. So here we have, so anyway, this Mishnayos has the Tosfos Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Tosfos Rabbi Akiva Eiger. And this is the way it looks. Tosfos Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Kol tov, hatzlacha, seid matzliach. Thank you so much.